So this is a question I get asked a lot, is how to install Python. So we're gonna just walk through a real quick demonstration of that first, and then kind of get into the background of why we're doing it this way and some best practices. And so this is a machine that does not have Python installed. We're going to be using the Anaconda distribution. So just type in Anaconda, and this is a very big supporter of all things open source. They are getting a little more corporate. They are asking for an email address now in order to download this, but you do not need to provide that. Actually, you just say skip registration and then download for Windows if you're using Windows. If you're using Linux, you may just want to install from the command line. So that installer looks like it downloaded. Go ahead and run this. And we can just go ahead and use the default settings for all this. It figures out the environmental paths and everything for you. All right, so yeah, that took a little while. It's complete now. And that is it. We do not need to launch the Anaconda Navigator. I guess we can show that. So the Anaconda Navigator is, it's very beginner friendly. It allows you to work with environments through a GUI. So you just go to environments over here. You can see we have a base environment installed, and it comes with all of these packages out of the box. A few hundred packages like pandas and NumPy, a lot from the SciPy ecosystem, as well as some web development stuff in here. But yeah, we're really going to want to, for each project, or each type of project at least, create a separate environment. That's always a best practice to keep everything clean and working correctly. And so you can use this GUI to get started, but really the sooner you get comfortable with the command line, the better. So we're going to go ahead and show that. You just open this Anaconda prompt. We're going to pin that to the taskbar as well. But this is how you're going to work with these environments. And so you see over here, base is activated. And so we're going to want to say conda create, give it a name, this -n flag, and we'll say like first env is our environment. So it's creating an empty environment. So we'll say conda activate first env. And you see that changed in the parentheses over here, which environment is currently active. And so that's really how all of this works, is when you're running Python files or Jupyter Notebook kernels from this environment, it's going to be using all of the resources and versions of packages installed here. So we're going to say conda install channel conda-forge python equals 3.11. And so what this channel flag is doing is specifying to use the conda forge, which is the open source community channel. The default channel is actually the corporate conda maintained Anaconda channel. But the latest version is on conda forge. And so when that says yes or no, you just press enter to continue downloading these. And so it's installing Python and all of its base dependencies. So when I first started out with Python, a lot of the tutorials were saying to install Python directly and use pip install. But really, there's a lot of things just to get Python working from the beginning, especially for Windows, that are just not beginner friendly. And before you can even write a line of code, you're editing environmental variables manually, and it's just a lot for somebody who's just getting started. And so Anaconda really makes all of this package management a lot simplified for both the beginner and the advanced user. So pip is a Python specific, it's the official Python packaging manager, and it's set up specifically for Python. And the reason this is problematic is that most Python packages actually have dependencies in other languages. And so in order to build those, there's a lot of like hacking that goes on with pip, where it's building wheels and binaries. With Anaconda, all of that is happening under the hood, similar to Docker, because it's a language agnostic package manager, and yet it works natively on Windows, in contrast to container systems like Docker. The main complaint people have with Conda is that it's just slower than pip. That is changing though. There is an add-on called Mamba. So we're going to say Conda install Mamba. And this basically allows us to use all of the same functionality from Conda, but run everything much faster, because all these packages need to play nicely with one another. And so Conda spends a lot of time just checking, what is compatible with what and what will fit into the current environment. And so you say Mamba install now with the same flags as before. And so we want multiple libraries here. So we're going to say GeoCube, for example, which will grab all of our GIS needs, and then H5Py, which is for working with HDF files. You can see that it goes through and it checks the environment first, figures out what do we really need to work with here. It's Python 3.11 is the main software installed that we can't really get around that versioning. And then once it goes ahead and starts, it will be much faster. You can see it is now downloading in parallel, extracting many packages and installing them all at once.